The sequence xn is defined by xn plus 1 is equal to 1 plus square root of 3 multiplied by xn whole divided by square root of 3 minus xn with x1 is equal to 1. Then we have to compute x2024 minus x626. From the question, note that the n plus first term is dependent on the nth term. That means every term is dependent upon the previous term. That is, term number 2 is dependent on term number 1, term number 3 is dependent on term number 2, and so on and so forth. Let us now calculate the first few terms of this sequence. x1 is equal to 1, it is already given. x2 can be determined when we know x1, and from the given formula, x2 is equal to 1 plus square root of 3 multiplied by x1 whole divided by square root of 3 minus x1. If we put in the values of x1 in this, we get x2 is equal to 1 plus square root of 3 whole divided by square root of 3 minus 1. That is because x1 is equal to 1. Similarly, x3 will be dependent on the value of x2, and by the given formula, it is equal to 1 plus square root of 3 multiplied by x2 whole divided by square root of 3 minus x2. We have just now calculated the value of x2, so let us put that in this expression, and we get 1 plus square root of 3 multiplied by x2, that is 1 plus square root of 3 divided by square root of 3 minus 1 whole divided by square root of 3 minus, again x2 is 1 plus square root of 3 divided by square root of 3 minus 1, and this is equal to 1 plus square root of 3 plus 3 divided by square root of 3 minus 1 whole divided by 3 minus square root of 3 minus 1 minus square root minus 3 minus square root of 3 multiplied by square root of 3, that is equal to 3 whole divided by square root of 3 minus 1, and that is equal to square root of 3 minus 1 plus square root of 3 plus 3 divided by square root of 3 minus 1 whole divided by, now at the denominator it becomes 2 minus 2 multiplied by square root of 3 divided by square root of 3 minus 1. We see that square root of 3 minus 1 occurs both in the denominator and the numerator. Therefore, we can cancel it, and we get x2 is equal to Now at the top it will become 2 square root of 3 plus 2 whole divided by 2 minus 2 square root of 3. If you cancel 2 from the numerator and the denominator, we get square root of 3 plus 1 divided by 1 minus square root of 3. Similarly, x4 will be equal to 1 plus square root of 3 multiplied by x3 divided by square root of 3 minus x3, and that is equal to 1 plus square root of 3 multiplied by square root of 3, x3 value is root 3 plus 1 divided by 1 minus root 3, we have just now found it out, whole divided by square root of 3 minus again root 3 plus 1 divided by 1 minus square root of 3, and that is equal to 1 plus 3 plus square root of 3 divided by 1 minus square root of 3 whole divided by square root of 3 minus square root of 3 plus 1 divided by 1 minus square root of 3. And that is equal to 1 minus square root of 3 plus 3 plus square root of 3 divided by 1 minus square root of 3 whole divided by square root of 3 minus 3 minus square root of 3 minus 1 whole divided by 1 minus square root of 3, and that is equal to, at the top, this square root of 3 and square root of 3 will cancel out. Similarly, this square root of 3 and this square root of 3 also will cancel out in the denominator. Therefore, we get 4 divided by 1 minus square root of 3 whole divided by minus 4 divided by 1 minus square root of 3, and that is equal to 4 divided by minus 4, that is equal to minus 1. So the value of x4 is equal to minus 1. Let us now calculate the fifth term x5, that is equal to 1 plus square root of 3 multiplied by x4 whole divided by square root of 3 minus x4. We have just now found out the value of x4 to be minus 1. So let us put that value in, and we get 1 minus square root of 3 divided by square root of 3 plus 1. This is the value of the fifth term. The value of the sixth term will be 1 plus square root of 3 multiplied by x5 divided by square root of 3 minus x5, and that is equal to 1 plus square root of 3 multiplied by x5 which we just now found to be 1 minus root 3 divided by square root of 3 plus 1 whole divided by square root of 3 minus x5, that is 1 minus square root of 3 divided by square root of 3 plus 1, and that is equal to 1 plus square root of 3 minus 3 divided by square root of 3 plus 1 divided by square root of 3 minus 1 minus square root of 3 divided by square root of 3 plus 1. That is equal to square root of 3 plus 1 plus square root of 3 minus 3 divided by square root of 3 plus 1 whole divided by 3 plus square root of 3 minus 1 plus square root of 3 whole divided by square root of 3 plus 1, and that is equal to square root of 3, 2 multiplied by square root of 3 minus 2 divided by square root of 3 plus 1, or you can write it in a better way like this, 2 square root of 3 minus 2 divided by square root of 3 plus 1 whole divided by 2 plus 2 square root of 3 whole divided by square root of 3 plus 1, and that is equal to, if you cancel out these two terms from the numerator and denominator, that is square root of 3 plus 1, square root of 3 plus 1, we get 2 square root of 3 minus 2 divided by 2 plus 2 square root of 3, and that is equal to square root of 3 minus 1 divided by 1 plus square root of 3. So this is the sixth term. And the seventh term, that is x seventh, will become 1 plus square root of 3 multiplied by x 6 divided by square root of 3 minus x 6, and that is equal to 1 plus square root of 3 multiplied by the value of x6 term, which we have just now found out to be root 3 minus 1 divided by 1 plus square root of 3 whole divided by square root of 3 minus square root of 3 minus 1 whole divided by 1 plus square root of 3, that is equal to 1 plus 3 minus square root of 3 divided by 1 plus square root of 3 whole divided by square root of 3 minus square root of 3 minus 1 divided by 1 plus square root of 3, and that is equal to 1 plus square root of 3 plus 3 minus square root of 3 divided by 1 plus square root of 3 whole divided by square root of 3 plus 3 minus square root of 3 plus 1 whole divided by 1 plus square root of 3. And that is equal to, at the top, square root of 3 will cancel out. So it will become 4 divided by 1 plus square root of 3, and at the denominator, square root of 3 also will cancel out. It will become 4 divided by 1 plus square root of 3. And this 1 plus 1 square root of 3 at the top and 1 plus square root of 3 at the denominator, both will cancel out. So we get 4 divided by 4, and that is equal to 1. If we note that it was given in the question x1 is equal to 1. It was given in the question that x1 is equal to 1. And here we get x7 is equal to 1. So x7 is equal to x1. Can you now guess what will be x8? Since x8 will depend upon x7, just like x2 dependent upon x1, the value of x8 will be same as x2, value of x9 will be same as x3, etc., etc. So the conclusion is the sequence terms repeat after every sixth term. We are required to find out x2024 minus x626. Let us see what will be the term x2024. We know that 2024 is equal to, if you divide 2024 by 6, we get 337 plus 2 remainder. That is, 2024 will be 6 multiplied by 337 plus remainder of 2. Since the terms repeat after every 6 terms, the value of x2024 will be same as the value of the second term. Please try to appreciate this point. x7 is equal to x1, x8 is equal to x7 is equal to x1, x8 is equal to x2, x9 is equal to x3. So the terms repeat after every 6 terms. So since 2024 is 6 times 337, then after a iteration of 337 times, the terms will again start as x1 and x2. And because there is a remainder of 2, x2024 will become the same as x2. Now let us find out what is the value of x626. Now 626, if you divide that by 6, we get 6 multiplied by 104 plus a remainder of 2. Therefore, x626 will have the same value again as x2. Therefore, x2024 minus x626 is same as x2 minus x2, and that is equal to 0. And that is the answer.